The Venezuelan government has condemned the extension for 1 year of the executive order declaring Venezuela a threat to the United States' national security. In Afghanistan, at least 7 workers at a plaster factory were shot and killed by unknown gunmen. The terrorist attack comes 2 days after 3 women were also shot dead. In Paraguay, health personnel denounced the collapse of the healthcare system and asked the government to take anti-COVID measures. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm Gladys Quesada. The Venezuelan government has condemned the 1-year extension of the executive order declaring the Bolivarian nation a threat to the United States' national security. In a statement shared on Twitter by Foreign Minister Jorge Arreaza, the Venezuelan government categorically rejected the renewal of the illegal decree, under which the U.S. government applies unilateral coercive measures as part of its policy of cruel and systematic attacks against the Venezuelan people. The statement also highlights that this illegal measure goes against the clear call issued by the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the negative impact of the unilateral coercive measures on the enjoyment of human rights, and stressed the need to lift the sanctions that go against international law and harm the Venezuelan population. The United States administration of Joe Biden extended the national emergency declared with respect to Venezuela this Wednesday. According to President Biden, the circumstances described in the original and subsequent executive orders issued with respect to Venezuela have not improved, and the country continues to pose an unusual and extraordinary threat to this national security and the foreign policy of the United States, leading to his decision to extend the emergency for another year. It should be recalled that the executive order was originally issued by former President Barack Obama in 2015 and extended under the Trump administration. On Wednesday, Venezuela paid tribute to African independence leaders. Foreign Minister Jorge Arreaza presented the leaders with the Order of Francisco de Miranda. The Foreign Minister highlighted the strong bonds of brotherhood between the both continents, the heroic struggle of the working class, and the need to fight for the unity of the peoples in order to overcome the threats of imperialism. The recipients of the prestigious decoration were His Excellency Sam Nujoma, founding father of the Republic of Namibia, former President of Mozambique, His Excellency Joaquim Chissano, Her Excellency Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Affairs Minister of Namibia, Zimbabwe's Minister of Defense, Her Excellency Oupa Muchinguri, the President of the Republic of Angola, Her Excellency Lucia Ingles van Danem, the father of South Africa, His Excellency Oliver Tambo, received the decoration posthumously. In a video message sent on the occasion, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro Moros expressed his gratitude for the international support of African countries amidst the illegal, coercive, unilateral measures imposed by the U.S. government.
The international solidarity that you, all your countries and peoples have expressed for our beloved Venezuela, it is what I want to thank today. In these moments in which we have been the target of fierce attacks by imperialism, Venezuela, as you know, is the heir of the independence struggles in our continent, and our revolution takes up the legacy that the liberators of the Americas saw for the free peoples of the world.
President Maduro also highlighted the importance of unity in the fight against imperialism.
Commander Hugo Chavez taught us to see the African continent as our mother, Mother Africa, not only because of the historical and ethnic roots that unite us, but because we share the same destiny, the same future, therefore the importance of our unity so that we can face the world powers as equal peoples. They want to see us separated, divided, but we must continue advancing in the integration between continents and peoples. Today, more than ever, it is necessary to unite our struggles to defeat the threats that threaten us. We see how imperialism is the neocolonialism of the 21st century.
The founding father of the Republic of Namibia reiterated the country's support for international dialogue.
And oppression. Namibia will always support constructive international dialogue with full respect for the sovereignty, territorial integrity and equality of nations in the interest of coexistence, peace and harmonious cooperation.
And the former president of Mozambique, Joaquim Chissano, denounced the existing challenges posed by colonialism.
That support continues today, when we are witnessing the threat of maintaining colonialism and imperialism in the world. African people continue to debate and face the negative effects of colonialism and imperialism, such as poverty, hunger, malnutrition, illiteracy, and the lack of adequate health care.
Zimbabwe's defense minister condemned the coercive sanctions imposed against the peoples of the world.
We continue to be victims of punitive sanctions imposed by imperialist powers against which we fought many years ago. Due to our determination to regain control of our human resources, we have been punished for our firm convictions, for our strong ideas of revolutionary heroes such as Miranda.
We'll take a short break now. Follow us on Twitter at TeleSUR English and Gladys TeleSUR. Welcome back to From the South. In Afghanistan, a provincial security official said on Thursday that at least 7 Afghan civilians were shot and killed by unknown gunmen overnight in the country's east. General Huma Gul Hemat, provincial police chief in Nangarhar, in the province, said the victims of the attack were workers at a plaster factory in the Sorkrot district. The Islamic State group has claimed responsibility for similar attacks, but many others have gone unclaimed. The government blames most attacks on the Taliban, who deny any role and blame the government.
They were working at a factory. Forces of people have been arrested, and hope that the person who is behind this will be identified after the interrogations.
Several thousand protesters returned to the streets of Myanmar's second-largest city on Thursday, cautious but undeterred by brutal police action the previous day that left an estimated of 3 people dead, including a young university student. Protesters in Mandalay built barricades around their site to impede any rush forward by police. In the end, police stayed away and the rally ended peacefully. Students were again prominent in the demonstration, along with teachers and private banking staff. The United Nations said 38 people were killed in protests across the country on Wednesday. It was the highest death toll in a single day since the February 1st military takeover. More than 50 civilians, mostly peaceful protesters, are confirmed to have been killed by police and soldiers since then. And funerals took place on Thursday in Myanmar for some of the victims killed by security forces, a day after the bloodiest day since protests erupted against last month's military takeover. Thousands of mourners in Mandalay applauded and gave defiant 3-finger salutes as a hearse carrying a body of a university student made its way through the streets of the city. Kial Sin was struck in the head when police opened fire on a demonstration of teachers and students on Wednesday. On Thursday, China said that it hopes that all sides in Myanmar will appropriately handle their differences within the constitutional and legal framework to maintain political and social stability in the country.
Has been in contact with all sides in Myanmar to actively promote de-escalation of tensions. We support the efforts of ASEAN countries to help Myanmar ease the situation in an ASEAN way, while upholding the principles of non-interfering in Myanmar's internal affairs and making decisions through consensus, and maintaining the solidarity and cooperation of the Asian family.
This Thursday in France, the former Prime Minister Edouard Balladur was acquitted of charges relating to the financing of his 1995 presidential campaign. The allegations against Balladur came to light during an investigation into the 2002 bombing in Karachi, Pakistan, that targeted a bus transporting French engineers, and which investigators believe may have been revenge for a halt in commission payments for arms deals. 15 people were killed in the attack, including 11 engineers and 2 Pakistanis. Balladur claimed the money for his campaign came from donations from supporters and merchandise sales, but prosecutors linked the money to cash withdrawals in Switzerland made by a Lebanese-French intermediary who took commissions on the army deals. French President Emmanuel Macron has admitted for the first time that French soldiers murdered a top Algerian independence figure and then covered up his death. The statements represent the latest acknowledgement by Paris of its colonial-era crimes in Algeria. French authorities had previously claimed that Ali Boudjamel committed suicide in detention, a lie that his widow and other family members had campaigned for years to see overturned. According to the president's office, Macron met 4 of the grandchildren of Ali Boudjamel and admitted in the name of France that the lawyer had been detained, tortured and killed in Algiers on March 23, 1957. Macron has admitted that France had created a system that facilitated torture during the Algerian War of Independence and acknowledged other murders. However, he has refused to offer a formal state apology for France's colonial crimes.
Emotion, but everything's mixed, because there is the emotion of this recognition, but there are also disappeared, and so it is a mixture, because the matter is much bigger than Ali Boumengel. It won't erase the crime, nor what we may have lived through, nor what it might have been for us. Our parents were destroyed by this story. We were destroyed by this story. The point is not to save the old generations, but to protect the future ones, and to explain to them what has been done in the past and what not to.
Violence erupted in Nigeria on Wednesday as 279 kidnapped schoolgirls were returned to their families. Security forces shot live ammunition against people gathering outside the government girls' secondary school in Jangebe in the northwest of the country on Wednesday, while some of the students kidnapped last week were reunited with their families inside the building. According to local media, 1 person died and 2 were injured. The reasons behind the incident were not immediately clear, but according to local reports, security forces reacted when some youth began throwing stones at the convoy of the Commissioner of Security and Home Affairs, who had traveled to the town for the occasion. Due to the situation, the government of Zamfara state announced a curfew. We'll take a short break now, but we'll be right back, so don't go away. Welcome back. Paraguayan health workers denounced collapse of the healthcare system and requested the government to take measures to reduce the rate of infections. This Wednesday, doctors in Paraguay suggested the government to pass a decree that contemplates 14 days of total quarantine to contain the cycle of infections. The doctors reported that the health centers do not have basic supplies to treat patients infected with COVID-19 as well as ambulances. The government has not yet responded to the situation. The sanitary collapse in Paraguay comes just at the moment when the South American country recorded more than 160,000 cases of coronavirus and around 3,000 fatalities. Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel Bermudez congratulated Cuban scientists. Soberana 01A is the 5th candidate created in the country to vaccinate against COVID-19. The announcement was made by its creators in a weekly meeting between the president and health experts. The other 4 vaccine candidates are currently in different stages of clinical trials. Soberana 02 entered phase 3 trials on March the 1st and is considered the most advanced vaccine candidate. The other candidates are Soberana 01, Abdallah, and Membisa. The Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America People's Trade Treaty declared that in compliance with the commitments of the health sector meeting, the Alba Bank and Venezuelan state airline Conviasa are making effective the humanitarian air bridge, carrying the first 20,000 doses of vaccines to initiate the immunization against COVID-19 in Dominica. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro Moros announced the presence of the Brazilian variant of COVID-19 in some states of the country this Wednesday and urged the population to strengthen biosecurity measures.
We have detected the presence of the Brazilian variant of COVID-19 in Venezuela. Here, I have the report and we are going to provide details. It is a variant that, as you know, is more contagious. It transmits a greater viral load, which means that it is more dangerous, more serious, and according to all the data we have regarding the evolution of the pandemic in Brazil, well, it has collapsed first the state of Amazonas, the state of Roraima, as we learned in November, December, January, and now Brazil has collapsed in a third frightening wave.
And Brazil registered a second consecutive record number of COVID-19 deaths on Wednesday as the country faces its most lethal phase of the pandemic. After recording the highest number of fatalities in a day since the start of the pandemic on Tuesday, the country registered a record 1,910 fatalities on Wednesday, pushing the total death toll past 259,000. There were also over 71,000 new cases reported in 24 hours, the second worst number since the first case of COVID-19 in February 2020, bringing the total number of infections to 10.7 million. Brazilian protesters against President Jair Bolsonaro from their windows and balconies amid the record daily coronavirus death toll. Residents yelled, "Get out Bolsonaro," and banged pots and pans to express their anger at the president's handling of the health crisis. The situation has been exacerbated by the surge in cases stemming from the holidays and carnival season, when many people ignored the cancellation of official events to hold large gatherings and clandestine parties. The head of the World Health Organization's Europe office called on countries to get back on focusing on suppressing the spread of COVID-19 after the region registered a 9% increase of cases over the last week.
Last week, new cases of COVID-19 in Europe rose 9% to just above 1 million. This brought a promising 6-week decline in new cases to an end, with more than half of our region seeing increasing numbers of new infections. We are seeing a resurgence in Central and Eastern Europe. New cases are also on the rise in several Western European countries where rates were already high. Continued strain on our hospitals and health workers is being met with acts of medical solidarity between European neighbours. Nonetheless, over a year into the pandemic, our health systems should not be in this situation.
On Thursday, Egypt launched the second phase of a nationwide vaccination campaign against the coronavirus by vaccinating some of the country's elderly and also those with underlying medical conditions. Health Minister Hala Sayed said patients will receive the Chinese Sinopharm's vaccine for the British AstraZeneca shot in 40 vaccination centers across the country. In January, the Health Ministry began rolling out its anti-COVID-19 vaccination program by giving the shots to frontline healthcare workers. Egypt has so far registered more than 184,000 COVID-19 cases and over 10,000 deaths. A batch of China-donated COVID-19 vaccines arrived in Conakry, capital of Guinea, on Wednesday. Guinean Minister of Foreign Affairs Ibrahima Khalil Kaba, Guinean Minister of Health Remy Lamar, and Chinese Ambassador to Guinea Huang Wei attended the handover ceremony held at the airport. Kaba expressed his heartfelt thanks to the Chinese government and people in his speech. He said that after Guinea raised its demands for vaccines to China, the Chinese side responded quickly and actively and offered to help as soon as possible. China's support has provided the Guinean government with effective means to protect its people's health and safety. On Thursday, taxis stayed on the roads as drivers held a protest in central Athens, demanding financial aid and tax cuts as Greek authorities introduced new coronavirus restrictions following a spike in infections. Greeks woke up to a new set of restrictions on Thursday, with the police now able to target people making false claims of being working out to bypass stay-at-home orders as part of tougher new measures. Permission to visit banks and supermarkets are only permitted in a 2-kilometer radius of each person's home. Virus infections continue to rise in Greece despite 4 months of lockdown measures. Authorities reported over 2,700 confirmed new infections on Wednesday, the highest daily total so far this year.
Health protocols, as you can see, we are all wearing masks and we are maintaining distance. We don't seek to undermine this situation.
And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.